We should say something really preposterous.
Okay.
Right, so welcome back. This is, as always, my favorite time of the year when we hand out the prize for our International Problem-Solving Contest with APL. So the first speaker is Brian, who will tell us how the mechanics of the contest went this year.
Thank you, Gitta. Okay, so 2017. This looks a lot like slides from the past several years. Actually, it's our 9th year of running the APL problem-solving competition. And it's our 5th year working with SCORE. And they host the site where people go out to fill out the Phase 1 and Phase 2 problems. And first I want to thank our sponsors. APL Italiana, Fiserv, and SimCorp have basically been sponsors from day one, and we couldn't run this competition without their support, and we thank you all very, very much. And we have a few anonymous sponsors as well, and you know who you are, and we thank you as well. I want to thank the problem contributors this year. We had, actually, many years I wind up writing a lot of the Phase 2 problems, and this year I didn't write, I helped author some of them, but I didn't actually come up with the problems. They were submitted to me by a number of people. So I want to thank Paul Grosvenor and Optima for the healthcare problem set, and Dr. Charles Brenner for a couple of the problems in the math and statistics area, and then Zach for problems that he submitted for math and statistics in the computational geometry. And as you've probably heard, Zach was one of our winners last year, so the competition continues to bear fruit. I also want to thank our judges. Adam and Michael did a tremendous job in helping judge the entries, and Adam had a great example of, I guess the phrase is eating your own dog food, which is, using your own product to help you get your work done. And so Adam had created a spreadsheet, a tool to analyze all of the Phase 1 entries and populate an Excel spreadsheet with color coding and all sorts of amazing things. And so it's a case where we're actually able to use our own tools to do some pretty neat stuff. And then finally, I want to say a special thank you to Fiona. She's done a tremendous job of keeping all the various pieces of the competition in touch with one another, whether it's interfacing with SCORE or nudging them or kicking me to get the problem descriptions done, but she's done a terrific job, and the competition wouldn't have come off as well as it did had it not been for Fiona's efforts, so thank you. So this year, as in the past few years, we've had 2 phases, which is Phase 1 is 10 simple one-liner type of problems, and then in Phase 2 we had 3 areas of concentration: healthcare, math and statistics, and computational geometry. And the participation was up this year, which was kind of neat. So we had 59 Phase 1 submissions from students, from 42 last year, and then 42 non-student submissions, which was also pretty impressive. So we had 111 entries to judge there. And then Phase 2, we had 18 student submissions, a 20% rise from last year, and 6 non-student submissions. And the prizes, we gave out 10 $100 prizes for Phase 1 for the top Phase 1 solutions. And in Phase 2, we had first, second, and third prizes, and plus 200 prizes for 5 competitors who weren't in the top 3. So where did people come from? And this was kind of interesting. India had the greatest number of submissions by a lot. Now, proportionally by population, they have the greater number of people by a lot, so maybe that makes sense. I was interested to see, 7 entries from Argentina, but only so many countries only had 1 entry, and so we need to, we need to work more with Burundi and Cameroon, but it's interesting. We are really getting entrants from all around the world. I'm curious to find out how some of these people learn of the competition. Hopefully it's from the efforts of SCORE and their network. So I try and share some impressions from the competitors. We asked them when they submit for phase 2 to give us, their reaction to the competition, and any suggestions for how we could make it better. So I'm going to kind of scroll through these, give you a chance to read them. And I like this, it helped me renew my programming's way of thinking. So this year's questions were very interesting, enjoyed solving every bit of it. This is my first proper experience with such an abstract language, and was surprisingly much more challenging than I expected. So here's somebody that really enjoyed participating in the programming contest and wants to do it again next year. And so that's one of the things that I wanted to try and emphasize, is that when we design the problems, we try and pick problems that are interesting, but also highlight some of the power of APL. And so a lot of the students have come to learn about APL through the competition, which was kind of cool. I mean, that's how we got Joel Huff and several others. This is the most impressive one, though. From an 11-year-old who was the first runner-up in this year's competition. So, in about 6 or 7 years, you people who are looking for APLers, there are child labor laws, so you can't have them quite yet. So, help. Please contribute, okay? Suggest or submit candidate problems. Again, this year's problems came entirely from other contributors, and I thank you very much for that. So please don't stop now. And domain specific is great. One of the nice things about the problem set that we got from Optima is it had to do with healthcare. I know nothing about healthcare other than I need it. And so we were able to get some industry and some practical real-life problems from Optima, and that was terrific. The other thing is help promote the competition. Spread the word, talk to your local universities and schools, and we have materials that you can print off from SCORE, assuming that we're using SCORE again next year, that you'll be able to distribute to your local schools. So please, if you're interested in doing that, let us know and we'll make sure you get those materials when they're available. So, and the winners are, well, the non-student winner is Mike Powell for the second year in a row, and he's a former IPSA employee. And the runners-up, the second runner-up was Zach Taylor from Maryville High School. So, he's a little bit older, he's 16. And the first runner-up, as I said, was Douglas Patz, an 11-year-old. And then the grand prize, at this point I'd like to turn the microphone over to, or the stage over to Carlo Alberto Spinici, the founder of APL Italiana, to present this year's grand prize.
Take this one. Thanks. Oh, in a very special formal edition. Okay, I suppose that now I am supposed to be able, with my infamous bad English, to be able to convey a lot of strong emotions that a moment as this one deserves. As, for instance, how proud I am that I have been assigned the privilege to present to you all the winner of the first prize for this year, International Problem Solving Contest in APL. All the commitment of the sponsors, all of them, including but not only all the different versions of SimCorp we have around those days, the big and the small, the worldwide and the Italiana, that have been both sponsor of this contest from the very, very beginning. Or the joy to meet with young people that just discovered the APL and will say to us all about what was funny and what was painful in this experience, but also the thirst of the old vampire who is dreaming to inject this fresh blood in our businesses. Because this is part of the game. This year, I cannot forget that this specific man is coming from that specific region. That teached at least to the whole Western world the art of thinking. And he also is a student in physics. Physics is beautiful. APL is beautiful. They should work well together, I think. I am a bit sinful about physics because I spent a big chunk of my life stealing, promising young researchers from physics and putting them to work with general ledger, finance. Anyway, so there are many other beautiful things I would be able to say if I were able to say, but I'm not, so I stop here. Just believe me, I'm really excited to congratulate with this year winner of the contest. Say again your name.
Kostas Blekos.
Kostas Blekos. I think it's not so difficult to say, at least for Kostas Blekos. I said that perfectly. This way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, I'm supposed to say now how I won the Dyalog APL contest. But the answer is very simple. I have no idea. I'm sure that Ari thinking from physics that I'm doing and some code golfing that I used to do really helped, but really I don't know what happened. So I'll tell you how I worked for the problems. My two basic tools were TryAPL online and the book Mastering Dyalog. Basically, I was toying with TryAPL using the very useful list of primitives that it's on the side, and then went to Mastering Dyalog and back and forth like that. So TryAPL, I found it very useful. I wouldn't have participated, I think, in the contest without this. It's very easy to start. I had some problems last year where I tried to participate again, but I didn't know about this online tool. It's very easy to use. I really like the backtick trick. It's very good to get used to the keyboard and to learn APL keyboard. I found really useful the primitives list that's on the side, and you can have the names. You can see the basic usage of each primitive, see some examples. And also, a thing that I think it was not mentioned yesterday, that there was a relevant talk, that APL has persistent sessions, and this also helped a lot. Apart from this, Mastering Dyalog was a very great book, a great resource to learn about APL. Very good examples. I learned the syntax mostly from there. Helped my understanding a lot. And I saw many ways how you combine the primitives to make Dyalog APL idioms. I used to have heard of Tio, but I didn't know about it. It would be a great complement to APL because APL basically is missing an editor. I would have used, I think, Tio as an editor to save my code, make the functions there, and use as a playground the APL framework. So overall, it was a very enjoyable experience. It was really. The problems were very fun to try and solve, and I learned a lot of APL. So I saw some of my code. First, the problem 3 from phase 1, which actually it's a simple problem, but I will show you this to you mostly because I'd like some input. The problem is this, that you have a string and you are supposed to remove everything that is between a pair of double quotes. What I did is first I found where the double quotes were, and I counted how many double quotes are to the left of its digit. And if it's in an even number, then it means it's outside of the double quotes. If it's an odd number, it is inside the quotes. And then you have to add the first vector to this, meaning the quotes themselves. And that's the solution that I wrote. I think I submitted something like this. But I'm not satisfied with this solution because it's a very common problem, and I'm sure there is something that I'm missing. I've already talked to Brian and Adam about this, and they pointed me to some directions, some possible solutions, but I'm wondering if is there a better way to use this using Dyalog 14 that I had to use? Because what you mentioned yesterday was about 16, I think, mostly. So that's the first piece of the code. And now about the healthcare set of phase 2. Maybe it's a more practical problem. Actually, we were asked to make a projection. We had some population of patients taking, population A taking drug A, B taking drug B, C, maybe D, E, F, whatever, and then some special categories are patients in remission or that have died or that don't take any drug or whatever. And we have some rules of how these populations move around. For example, maybe for patients taking drug A, maybe 30% of them after 2 months start taking drug B, 10% of them every month go into remission, and so on for every category. And on top of that, every month there are some new identified cases, which is a random number of patients. Ideally, we would want to model that this way, where we have the initial population, a matrix that represents the changes between the populations. This directly give us the new populations For example, this could be a population matrix. And this is the changes, how we could represent the changes, where this, for example, means that 30% of population A ends up in B, and here 40% of B goes into remission, and this means that nobody comes back from the dead, actually. So the projection using some representation, some kind of representation would be, we would want it to be like this. But we can't use it this way because that could be too complex to try to have one matrix for monthly changes, one for bi-monthly changes, and so on. So what maybe is obvious to more experienced users, but it took me a while to find, is that you can simply add some transitional categories. For example, this could be patients on the first month of drug A, and then this is the rest. So writing like this, we could use this form, but you also have the new patients that are random for each month. What this means is that we actually have this, where this is, we have the initial population plus some random occurrences times the change matrix plus the second month occurrences times the matrix again, and so on, as many months we want to make the projection. But writing it like this, maybe it's easy to see that these parts are just this operation where we can use to as a reduce operation for the concatenation of random populations and the initial population. So that's what we should write, maybe. That's a complete solution for projections, for all combinations and any kind of transfers and projections that we want to make. I think I submitted something like this and not this. And okay, that would be all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kostas. Any questions? I thought so.
When you were working on these problems and you were developing your expressions, did you find it very easy to see, like you showed up there, the reduction example of, did you find that occurring very often, or was that a fairly rare occurrence? And was it easy to see this or harder to see how to see those patterns?
It got easier, of course. When you know that you want to look for this, you find it easier.
You didn't give us a time frame. When did you first find out about APL? Well, when did you start the problem? Start the contest? I mean, you know, did you start it a week before the end or something like that?
I had used APL in the past for some research that I saw you earlier, but there was a long period that I hadn't used APL at all, so it's something between those two extremes. I began working on the problems, I don't know, the time they came out, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, yep.
Maybe is inappropriate is not a question, just a statement, but after listening to your presentation, my pride in being your presenter increased a lot. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, I must say I like that train. So, we have a bus to catch. The bus will be outside at about 10 to 2.